In April 1917, the Americans entered World War One. President Woodrow Wilson finally, after years of refusing to enter the war, decided enough was enough. The rest is history, and the Allies won the war on November the 11th, 1918. But why did America enter? Was it because of economic reasons, public opinion, personal sympathies of the president, or because of the Zimmerman telegram? I believe the Zimmerman telegram as the deciding factor, and I will explain in this essay. Firstly, one of the main reasons why America entered the war was because of public opinion. In May 1915, German U-boats sank the Lusitania, drowning 1,193 people, 151 of which were American. The sinking had a major impact on America and the American people. The American people believed that a luxury cruise liner would not have been a legitimate target for the Germans, and this made the incident so much more tragic and significant. This therefore places public opinion as an important reason for the American entrance into the war, as before the attack the Americans did not believe that the Germans posed a threat to them because of their isolationist society. It made the American people think about how dangerous the Germans were to them. Even before the attack, the American people had a worsened opinion of Germany compared to that of any other European countries, and this attack further would send this opinion and sway American people wanting to join the war. However or not believe this was the main priority of the American entrance, other than factors like personal sympathies of Wilson could be considered more important, as it took 2 years before the Americans entered the war. Even before the war started, President Wilson had sympathies with Britain and many of the Allied countries. Therefore, when the war began, Wilson always wanted Britain to win, and he would do all that he could to make sure it happened. Even though Wilson wanted America to remain neutral, Wilson always wanted the American people to sway towards a British victory, and this makes Wilson's sympathies a more important factor in the American entry into the war. As President and therefore Commander-in-Chief, Wilson had a major influence over America's entry. Wilson wanted Britain to win no matter what. If he saw that he could help join the war, they were struggling, then he would have joined, and as Commander-in-Chief, he could put that idea forward and help persuade the American people that it was a good idea to join. Along with this, the fact that public opinion had worsened of Germany, Wilson's job would have been made a lot easier. But he still had to make the decision to join the war, and if he did not have the personal sympathies with the Allies, then America may never have entered the war. But was the fact that Wilson and America had loaned the Allies money a bigger factor than his personal sympathies? During World War One, America helped Britain and the Allies in many economic ways. The House of Morgan lent $2.3 billion to Great Britain, meaning that they could not afford an Allied defeat. Therefore, once America saw that maybe Britain was struggling, they had little choice but to join, and this made the economy a very high priority in America's entrance to the war. If Britain and the Allies were to have lost the war, then America's economy would have collapsed, as they would not have been able to pay their loans back. Also, there was a massive economic dependence of US factories on the purchases of the Allied war effort. Many US factories supplied Britain with supplies, and this created an extremely good business for them. If Britain began to struggle and lose, then masses of money could be lost. In fact, potentially the loss of trade was more than the cost of mobilizing all of the US forces that fought against Germany. Therefore, the economy was a major push factor into the war, as without supplying Britain extraordinary amounts of money, Britain would have at last, and their economy would have been plunged into turmoil. And if America wanted to continue making more money, they had to join the war. However, in my opinion, the single most important reason for the US entry into the war was not the economy, but the decoding of the Zimmerman telegram. In January 1917, the Zimmerman telegram, which had been decoded, had been accidentally leaked to the Americans by Britain. It was proposed a military alliance between Germany and Mexico. It offered Mexico American territory, namely Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, in exchange for joining the German cause. This was a major threat to America and the American people. America, having been relatively neutral throughout the war, had all of a sudden been targeted. Wilson and the American government were speechless, and this is why I believe that the priority for American entrance into the war was the Zimmerman telegram, due to the fact that America was now being targeted. Wilson must have had no other choice but to enter the war because of this. If the Americans were forming an alliance if the Germans were forming an alliance against America, then this would have been seen as a direct threat, and they would have had no other choice but to retaliate and join the war. The telegram would have not only majority influenced Wilson, but also the American people, who would have been shocked to know that they were target for being neutral. Along with Zimmerman telegram, also resumed unrestricted submarine warfare, preying on American vessels in the Atlantic. Not only had Germany threatened America, they had also begun attacking them, leaving America and Wilson no other choice but to join the war, making it the priority for American entrance into the war. In conclusion, I do not believe that the economy was the main priority for America's entry into the war. Even though it would have had a major influence on the decision to enter, the fact is that the Zimmerman telegram threatened America and that Germany began to attack their vessels would have had a much greater influence on the decision, as they would have had no other choice but to retake control. It may not all have been American vessels that had always been targeted.